And there we have had confirmation that the death toll in the UK from coronavirus, according to the government's figures, has now exceeded 100,000, that very grim milestone that we had been expecting. So let me just give you the figures in the last 24 hours. Within 28 days of a positive test, that is 1,631. So that brings the total of people who've died to 100,162. Our political correspondent Nick Eardley joins me now at Westminster. Nick, as we say, a very grim milestone, and we're going to hear from the Prime Minister about this in just a few minutes' time from Downing Street.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing Boris Johnson will want to address in the press conference. Ben, we've got used to these figures, haven't we? We put them out every day, but this is another reminder of the human toll that the past 10 months have pulled together to get through this. Clearly, this is another really difficult day as part of the pandemic. It's only 10 months since Sir Patrick Vallance, the Chief Scientific Advisor, was saying that it would be a good outcome for the UK to have 20,000 deaths from this virus. We're now at the point where 100,000 people have been confirmed dead 28 days or less after having a positive COVID test. Clearly things have got considerably worse than they were when Sir Patrick Vallance made that grim comment last March. The difference now, I suppose, is we know the vaccine is being rolled out. The government is pleased with the way that's going and hopes that that gives light at the end of the tunnel, but it is another dark day in the pandemic.
And it's a dark day that will no doubt prompt many people to ask, why the UK figure is so high in terms of deaths. It's one of the highest in the world, of course, and there'll be questions once again, I suppose, about the government's policy going right back to last year. Was it too slow to lock down? And also an analysis of all the demographic figures and statistics in this country, whether there are underlying factors about this country, underlying factors that mean that death toll is so high.
That's right, because these figures do mean that when you compare it to the population, the UK has one of the highest death rates in the world. Now, there will be those who turn around and say, look, it's probably too early to make any firm comparisons, that different countries record deaths in different ways, but there's no disputing the fact that the UK's death rate is amongst the highest in the world, and I suspect Boris Johnson will continue to face questions over why exactly that's happened. And we know that he's faced criticism from political opponents, sometimes for not being decisive enough, for not taking action as quickly as some people would have liked to have seen it when it came to things like lockdown. We're of course in the third lockdown in England now, but the government has faced questions over the speed at which it reaches some of those decisions to tell people not to go out the house. I suspect we will hear more of them over the next few days as well, but I suspect the government will also want to point to the vaccine rollout and say, look, for all these terrible figures that we see on a daily basis now, that we're seeing again today with that 100,000 milestone, there is a way out of this pandemic, the government thinks, with the vaccine rollout, which for all the grim figures we're used to also shows some pretty positive figures. More than 6.5 million people in the UK have now received the first dose of one of the vaccines. On some days that figure is reaching nearly 500,000 people being given a first dose of the vaccine. So the government will point to that as a potential way out. But, there's no disguising these figures, Ben. They are tough and they show a pretty grim point in the pandemic for the UK.
Indeed, Nick, thank you very much.